Hello, everyone. My name is Dave Arnold. I'm one of the senior trainers here at Workamajig. Today's topic is going to be about the CRM module, and that means bringing in leads in some way, converting those leads into a contact for further processing, so to speak, in the sales workflow. From there, uh, we'll create an opportunity for that contact and company. And then I'll show you how to convert that opportunity and kind of how to deal with that opportunity. Okay. And then converting that into an Opti project or a pseudo project in order to work on the comps and things like that. Okay. So as you can see, I kind of started out at leads. Okay. But what I actually want to start out is we actually have a system where we have, for example, you can put on a form onto your website or something like that to gather the information. Again, you could have something in HubSpot, which you have a connection that feeds those things into Workamajig using either Zapier or something else. But the idea is that I have a little bit of coding in here and basically they can, fill out the form as you see fit, and they would click the sign up. And when that gets sent, again, I sent it to the web to lead. That's just, again, just so you guys could see that's what I did. Um, and from there, you'll see in the salesperson and leads, when I actually go searching for that, that entry has now come in. And depending on what I'm tracking, you can see that it actually created an activity for me to follow up with some questions. So then I can go ahead and create new conversations and going out. Okay. So why don't we deal with this one actually? So again, I got this new lead, and again, I can sort this by this particular note by, for example, this one's saying all leads, but perhaps I have new leads. So anything that was created today, and that's when I hit that. So again, whatever kind of sort or filters that you put onto your views, that would provide us with that. Okay. And so again, just doing a search, again, the filter could be created this week, created last week, again, whatever kind of filter you want to kind of process these. Okay. But there's quite a bit that we can do in that web to lead where it sends out notes to people if need be. Okay. But once it's in the system, again, I'm just going to click on the meeting here, or sorry, on the lead. And again, there's quite a bit that we can start to fill out for this. So initially, I might have just gotten that information, maybe their phone number, things like that. Uh, as I talk to them, since they're a lead, I'm trying to qualify them, correct? And so from there, I probably just will do, oh, I'm going to have a conversation, right? And so this is just a note to myself, and it's just, quick follow up. And this isn't really going to be emailed to anybody, and just, what did I do? Did initial, oh, sorry, I can't spell initial there. Email or called or whatever it is, right? So again, I'm just taking notes. They did something and so on and so forth, right? Da, 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 blah, blah. Okay. I can then save that. And if I know that I need to actually talk to them again, I may say, okay, I'm going to talk to them in a week or so. So I'm going to say save follow up. That's going to pop out a brand new one. And And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and set that for maybe next week sometime. That makes sense. And then I'm going to go ahead and save that. So that'll show up on my dashboard as I go along. Now, each of these, as you can see, each of these notes are then threaded out. If I sent them an email out and they replied, there's also a way for us to capture that reply, and then it would thread out within this particular thread or within this particular note, and I can see that when they start to reply. Okay. Unfortunately, right now, free Gmail doesn't seem to like you to process mailboxes. So I haven't been able to get the replies working again. But again, on your own mail server, absolutely, you'd be able to set up a mailbox and do that. And I'll show you where you make those connections. Okay. The other things I'm tracking on my lead is, of course, increasing the company info as I get it. I may not quite yet start an opportunity, but while it's a lead, all I'm doing is really saying, well, what is it that they need? I saw that they needed a new website in their initial one, so I might just call this website. Okay. Give a little bit of note. Maybe in an email, I think, well, our typical is, again, just throwing out a number, uh, potential sell of about 5K. And again, using my project types, I can say, okay, I need a new something in the web. Okay. Again, this is all tentative information. Again, the conversations will be what I'm going to kind of track as I touch base with them or they touch base with me, that's where this will come in. Okay. We also have the ability to, if you have custom fields, there's custom fields available on the lead or contact level, as well as the opportunity in other places. So you can see that there's custom fields that may already be in the system where we're bringing in extra information regarding either the contact or lead record, the company side of things, or even when we start to create the opportunity side. Okay. All right. So once I think that this person, right, is going to move forward, right? And again, when you guys decide to do that, that's really up to your workflow, right? When do I decide to say, well, this looks like it's moving forward. We might be working on a contract or doing some comps or something like that. I've qualified them. It looks like they fit us, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and do a convert. And we make that very simple. I open up that lead record and there's a convert at the top. And when I do that, it's going to say, well, what is it that you want to do? Right. So of course it's going to create a contact. It's going to create the company record. Okay. It will even create the opportunity if it recognized that there were amounts there. Or if I, again, didn't have one at the time, I can always check this box and create the opportunity and get the initial information started up. Okay. If I need to notify other people about this, right? Somebody else is going to take over. I can also create a note to do that. Okay. But again, there might be another location on a view that your other person will take over. Okay. But again, we just make it very simple for you to hit convert lead. All the information that would be in here will then be added to these different records. And I'll go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and save. And this is now converted over. The top level we saw because I created an opportunity, that's what's going to show. But just to show that this information went across, here's the primary contact. Again, the information, you can see that the conversations are still a part of it. I see that it's linked to an opportunity, right? And of course, it's connected to the company. Okay. This is not a client yet, right? Just a company, right? We're kind of moving them to the next step, right? And again, when I look at the company record, you'll see that again, there's an opportunity as well as the contact record is connected. And again, we see those conversations sitting there about it. Okay. So again, we don't want to lose any of that information when they were a lead. That all comes across to the three records at that point in time. Okay. Any questions at this point? And again, in the chat room, the chat is where you can type in your questions. I think that's where we got those. Okay. All right. Again, pretty straightforward, I think. All right. So the next step we're going to do is again the next level. Again, when we're talking to the contacts, again, I can always do the notes on the contact level. But usually, again, I'm going to be working on perhaps an opportunity. And at this point in time, this opportunity is just that. Oh, okay. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Chat is disabled. You have to go to the Q&A. Sorry, our admin team keeps flipping things back and forth. So again, sorry, if you use the Q&A button, that's where you can put in questions. Okay. I do have a question. Uh, is there a place to show how to link a form in Workmajig like that? Yes, again, where I in the help guide, if you just type in web to lead, that's going to give you this, and it shows you exactly the code. And this is what I used. If I'll even show it to you. Here we go. Here's my sample code that I created for that form. You can see there's a bunch of hidden stuff, which has some, again, where does it go to types of things. And then here are the fields: first name, last name, company name, email, and then the activity note that was sent in. And then there's the button. So again, just simple HTML coding. This could be just inserted somewhere in your one of your pages and to collect the information. Okay. Okay. All right. So while it's an opportunity, again, we're still thinking you're working on it, but again, you haven't really maybe brought it to the level that would say, I need to convert this and maybe start looking at it, getting it slotted uh, into our workflow. Okay. So again, I'm still doing conversations probably. I may be able to create meetings and things like that. Now, what do I track on the opportunity? So on the opportunity, we're going to be able to say, well, okay, what's the expected revenue for this? Okay. And when we look at the production and the media, again, the idea of this is the expenses side. So again, maybe in production, I'm going to say, oh, we're going to charge about 5,000 in production, and we normally get, or expenses, and we usually get a 20% margin on that. And so that's going to be a little bit of where I get my AGI, if that makes sense, right? Um, so again, I get 5,000. So again, a total revenue of 10, 5,000 and 5,000. But then my, 20% of that, that's what's going to give me kind of my AGI there. Okay. We have a probability. So again, some people use this to say 10, 20, 30, 50%, we're going to win it, 100%. There's a couple of ways to use this. For some, we have what is called uh, you know, there's the normal AGI, then there's the weighted AGI. So again, 10% of 10,000, the weighted AGI in this case would be $1,000. Okay. But some people just use this more as a percentage, and they'll use that one in their reports because the probability will always be a percentage. So they use it more as a identifier of how close will we get, do we have a good chance or not of winning this business? Okay. Some of the other things we'd want you to track on this is the forecasted close date and then the number of months that you would do billing. So again, we think to close the business, kind of start the project as of a certain date. So again, our normal sales process, it might take a month or so to get it going or 2 months, depending on what you're doing. So I'm just going to say 10-1. And I'm going to say, and this is a 3 or 4 month project. And so I'm just going to say 4 months, which means we're going to probably bill the 10,000 over the course of 4 months or something like that. Okay. Unless I'm going to do everything at once, right? So why would I do this? This is actually used for revenue forecasting. So we can look at these opportunities that we have in the pipeline and say, what's the potential out there? And so again, I'll say $10,000 starting in 10, it'll be split over 4 months. So I'm going to see $2,500 in October, November, December, and January. Does that make sense for my revenue forecast? Okay. So that's the use of this. Also, forecasted close date, oftentimes that's a good filter for any of your reports, okay, revolving around opportunities, okay? Some of the other things that we're looking towards again at this day is the status of this. And we have different stages, which you guys, and I'll show you where these are at. But for the most part, is again, you guys can define what these are. It's whatever your workflow is, right? We just contacted them. That's where they're at. Interest confirmed. These are our standard ones, but again, you can name them whatever you'd like. But the idea is you're kind of moving them through the process. Interest confirmed. We got a proposal requested. We delivered the proposal. We have the agreement. And then maybe we have the signed contract, or maybe it stalled at verbal agreement and that was the end of it, right? Or a proposal or whatever the case may be, right? So again, you guys can decide what those are. These are just ours. Okay. The status, again, that's the stage where it's at. The next would be, where is it, right? Is it open? Is it closed? Did we have to postpone it, right? They lost the budget for now, so come back to it in the future. Again, just a nice identifier of where this particular opportunity is. Okay. The next steps is just simply a text field that you can fill those things out. Okay. Now, as you're moving this through, again, you're going to arrive at the point where, of course, you won the contract, right? I got a signed contract or we lost it, whatever the case may be. At that time, you would be, what is the outcome? And so this is more after I've done everything, I'm ready to shut this opportunity down, is where we would say, what's the outcome? Was it awarded? Was it canceled? Or did we lose it? And if we did any of those things, what date did that was I am I setting for that, right? We won it on, 9:30, we lost it on 9:30, we postponed it on 9:30. So whichever way you want to go, again, that actual close date is when I'm kind of putting this opportunity to rest, okay? And then what is my outcome, right? Did I, if I won it, how did I win it? If I lost it, why did I lose it? I think it's pretty straightforward, right? All right. So, um, and again, there's some other fields that we could have in here as an opportunity. We could have custom fields that would be trackable in case you have other information that you want to bring. Okay. Some of the other, kind of text fieldy type things that we have, don't worry about all mine. But again, we could have competitors, right? That, just a general description, that type of thing. Who are the stakeholders, things along that line. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the opportunity as an opportunity. Now, as a salesperson, where am I looking? So I'll just take you up to kind of the leads. So in leads, we do have a dashboard. Again, it's just leads, and it would be any ones that I've touched in the last, today, and they would show up in the recent. These are the ones that I've dealt with in the last, the last day or last few hours or so. We also have a number of views. And so as you can see, I have leads. Then we also have one, for example, all neglected leads. So in this one, what are we doing? I basically have a filter in here to say, hey, show me when I have, how long has it been since I've contacted them? Does that make sense? And so that's a filter that I put in and just going to say, okay, just show me anything that I haven't, I don't have any, sorry, but show me any leads that I haven't contacted since 2 months ago or 3 months ago or 4 months ago, right? That's the last contact for them. And that would pop the names where I could then go in and review them as to what I did with them. Okay. All right. So now that I kind of jumped to that, then we're kind of going into the opportunities, right? So we have an opportunity board, and our opportunity board is actually split up by your, you know, is set up by this. So again, your stages are coming out along the top and then kind of adding them up. There's a couple of different views if you have more than one salesperson working in the system. Again, show the, by person, but it still gives me a grand total of each of them and where they're at. Okay. As I move them, I can actually drag and drop them into different locations if I need to. As you can see, I moved that one over into verbal agreement so I can kind of work with them through this. So again, this is a kind of a handy way of seeing where are you at and where are they staged at. And again, there are some search terms that you can have here. And then again, jumping to the views is a more precise way of getting at the data. And so, of course, we have, again, neglected opportunities and things along that line, right? What stages, what is their outcome? So again, we would use this to kind of see what happened to those opportunities. Okay. And again, your account manager can help you further define these. We have a good number of these in the system as standard. But if you need any help in slicing and dicing the information, just let us know. Okay. Happy to help you out. All right. So again, the opportunity, as I'm going into the opportunity, again, how am I kind of taking care of that? It's really that same idea, right? While it's still kind of in this phase, I'm, putting in notes about it. I might put in some meetings That might be a possibility as well. I think I closed some of those. Okay, so here we go. Where's my contacts? Okay, so as I put in conversations, again, I click into those conversations, and again, I'm able to set up meetings for these guys. Just really depends on what I want to do with them, right? So again, I'm putting in each time I touch base with them, I'm putting in those notes, and I can at the time send out emails. I can also update, of course, any of the information regarding the contact. If I'm doing the opportunity itself, again, oftentimes I'm going to be able to jump into that contact or the company or contact record and do any updates I need to do, as well as updating any fields in the opportunity itself. Okay. All right. So the next thing we would have, and again, this is where we have some, the custom fields that are available in the opportunity. Again, I don't really have many, but just to show you that, again, it could be a text field drop down list, things like that. Again, whatever extra information you need regarding the actual opportunity. Okay. So from here, again, it looks like this is moving forward, right? We've gotten to a certain stage of, okay, I want to move this from initial contact, and maybe we've actually gone a little bit further. They're actually looking for a proposal request, okay? So the idea behind this is we're going to let you work with your project management team to kind of come up with a better proposal, right? And I can do that by just saying enable advanced features. At that point in time, I can create a project or a campaign or a planning project. Okay. If I know what type of thing I'm going to create, I can go ahead and select that. I don't know if I have a website one that's active. Okay, there's a template website large. Okay. I can grab a team, right? So I have certain players on this project or this pseudo project to begin with. And then again, if I need to, yeah, I might have it set to a certain project status so the project management team can pick it up. Okay. Now, before I even click this button again, who is the person that would do the enable advanced features, right? Who's going to do that conversion? Okay, as you can see, I'm picking a template. That doesn't have to be done at this time. I can get the schedule. I can copy over a schedule for all you project managers. You can copy a template schedule in after the fact if the schedule is blank, right? The team is a little harder. Again, that just becomes a text field after I've created it. And then a status is, of course, the status. But again, some people would say, hey, I'm going to send a note to my project manager to say, hey, you know, I need uh, help with the comp for this. And so then they would send a note to their project manager to go ahead and do this conversion. Or again, is it the salesperson that says enable that advanced feature and does all this for them? Okay. And I said, this isn't so much about how to set up the projects and so on and so forth. But again, we can create the project based upon a template or leave it blank. Same thing with the campaign. If I do the campaign, I name the campaign and I can drop multiple templates into it. The planning project, as you know, is more of like a bucket type of project where it's like, I'm going to give them 50 hours of work, across these three services, and that's going to last for 4 months. And this is the pricing for that. So that would be more of the planning project. There's not really a set schedule other than you work 10 hours during this month. Does that make sense? Okay. So anyway, so the idea here is that again, I'm going to just pick project and SaaS. I'm going to go and say enable advanced features. And so now we kind of have two things. We have the sales opportunity as it sits, right? Which is still the sales opportunity. You're still tracking conversations on that. You're still kind of tracking the dollar values on that and that type of information. This is more from the project side. Okay. So now we've created this, what we call an opportunity project, and it's actually Opti, right? The name of it is Opti 70. That's what I will see in the project. And in everywhere else in the system, this is right now Opti number 70. So opportunity project number 70. And it just ratchets up to, the next opportunity, whatever the number that is, that's the number it will use. Okay. So this is the 70th opportunity in my system. That's why it's 70. Okay. Now, again, this has all that opportunity information on it, but from the project itself, we have all of this information. Okay. So this is depending on where you come from. Am I coming from the opportunity side? I get the settings and things like that. So it's just like I'm in the project, but the project team will see it just a little bit different. So let me go to Opti 70 be here. Hopefully I got that in there. There it is. Okay. You can see that from the project management standpoint, it looks like a regular project. It's just the number happens to be Opti 70. There's no billing, of course, because we can't bill an opportunity. It's still sitting in sales op, right? But everything else is exactly the same from their standpoint, right? The conversation got copied over into it, if that makes sense. Okay. So now it's up to my project management to start working on, okay, first, do I have the schedule? Does this schedule look right? You notice that I put, 8/6 is my kind of close date. It's going to accept that date as far as when that's where it's going to cascade from. Okay. If I need to change that, I can just set it up into the project settings and go to here and say, okay, no, I'm expecting this to close actually in the second or something like that and save. And so now my schedule will start to slot out from the second as I start to work that out. Okay. So again, this is not a deep dive into how to do the project management side, but the idea is now I can kind of look at either my staff schedule to see where we have a slow spot that we can pick up this extra work, or again, fully slot it out. All of these assignments start to show up. Okay. That makes sense. If it's considered active, then I would see in my staff schedule, I need editing uh, from on September 2nd for 2 hours. Okay. I need a graphic designer for 10 hours starting on September 7th. Okay. Haven't assigned anything. That's usually not until it goes live because I don't know who would be available at that point in time when it goes live. But again, this kind of the service level information is available in scheduling. Okay. Or in the staff schedule and in resourcing. Okay. All right. So again, the idea is that your project manager and salesperson can work together to get the estimate together, right? So right now I've got the schedule all lined up. This is the amount of work. I may have additional spec sheets to develop, or I'm working off of those spec sheets. Then I can come into my estimate and start saying, okay, yeah, let me pull from the schedule. That's already done it for me, right? There's my schedule for what I wanted. And again, do I need to edit this in any way to push it back? That type of thing. Do I need to add in more uh, tasks, remove tasks, that type of thing? But again, I'm getting this value of 6405. Seems a little odd, but again, you know how to deal with estimates, which is again, change the numbers as you see fit to get the number that you're looking at. Again, that's the idea, is that we're kind of working together to make sure that both sides are on the right page, right? They're on the same page, I should say. Uh, Project managers are kind of getting a value that fits with your agency, and salespeople are also getting the right number, right? Not underselling or overselling, right? So they win more business. Does that make sense? Okay. So the next thing we would do is again the opportunity itself, which is sitting here, sits by, separate from the actual project, but is still very connected, right? So again, we're not taking away any views from that. In fact, again, you can see once that estimate is approved, the budget would show up, type of thing. So it acts just like a project, but these are just the links within the opportunity. Okay. Now, the next thing, if we've won the business, whatnot, right? Or if we've lost the business, either way, again, we may kill this project and it's done. And I may just say, I don't ever make it live. I'll just end the opportunity, right? But if we do win the business, I can go ahead and say, yeah, looks great. Make project live. Okay. So what did make project live? Of course, I don't have I don't have a client ID for this client. So it's actually saying, hey, do you want to create one? So again, that's kind of an interesting one that we're able to do. So I believe I can do DB. Okay. Okay. So it's letting me create that client ID at that time. Again, your agency's workflow may have a different style where you're asking, hey, can you go ahead and convert this opportunity record, this company record into a client, and then let me know. And again, then that client ID would be there based upon, again, the company record. Okay. Uh, as you can see, everything else is kind of filled out for me because, again, I did all that information there. The only thing I'm really doing is maybe changing the name, maybe changing the date, right? Because, again, the date might have changed as I finally won it. I'm also able to update some of my other fields, right? So again, the opportunity status, again, if it's the same person, okay, they've asked for the proposal, we want it. Now we have a signed contract, and I'm going to go ahead and close this. But that's really, you know, and then I can also come into here and start working on that. Okay. Now, if your project manager is the one who says make project live, then of course your salesperson would need to be notified so that they can kind of come through and take care of this. So I'm going to go ahead and not fill out the rest of this just to show what would happen. Okay. So as a project manager, they come in, they fill out this top information. They may set the status to something different, but they'll leave the outcome out and they go ahead and save. And that's going to convert this project from Opti 70 into whatever numbering system you have. Okay. So here's the link to it. So this is the real project now. And it's in mine, I don't have a client ID or anything. I just say, give me the next global number. Okay. That's just my choice. Usually it's year, client ID, next global number. That's, so whatever your numbering system, that's what it will now adopt. As you can see, conversations would all still be there. Of course, we copied over the schedule, we copied over everything else, right? So now it's just a ready to go project. You would just do your normal trafficking, assignments, and so on and so forth, and then put it into production. Okay. From the sales point of view, right? What do they still need to do? Well, again, they're still working on this opportunity. It's still sitting here. So some things are still there. So let me again get into here. Kind of go through here. Okay. So from the opportunity standpoint, there's still some housekeeping to do, right? So if I come in, obviously it's I won it, right? Because I got a signed contract. So I need to say it was awarded. When did it get awarded? Well, today's the 6th, so that's when it got awarded. What's the description? Right? Why did we win it? Right? Whatever that information is, right? And again, if there's any other custom fields I need to update, then I'd be doing that. But that's the idea. I'm saying, it was awarded as of this date. What's the description so that for future processing and review, right? I'm going to be able to pull this information out. Okay. Does that make sense? All right. Right. So that is really a simple workflow. I took it from, the web form, if that makes sense. I captured that lead somehow, right? However you guys do. That brought it into the system as a lead. I then did some work with that, qualifying this record or this person. Yes, we're going to do business with them. I easily converted them by just hitting convert and saying, what else do I want to convert besides contact name and record or company record? And I also started an opportunity with it. Okay. From there, we went to opportunity. And so again, I created that opportunity. So now I'm kind of working with the opportunity and I showed how to basically convert that over. I selected, kind of converted it over into an Opti project because I needed some comps done and whatnot. And then I finally said, make that project live and then shut down the opportunity. Just to show you, here's a campaign that I had created. Okay. And so again, I just picked some other things. Those projects, again, their own entities, so they work just like a normal campaign, right? Now, one of the things I didn't touch base on, and probably I'm surprised nobody asked, is can I enter time against an opportunity? Okay. Against an opportunity itself, while it's still that opportunity, no. Okay. The salesperson would be putting their time towards either an internal sales project or their own sales project. I've seen it two ways where they just say sales and they put their time towards that. I've seen some where they do a sales pitch and they basically, if it moves to a certain point, they actually will put a task in for the person they're working with, big media company, and then they put their time towards that. Don't have to. Again, they may capture it in the comments of the time entry. But again, they're putting their time in against an internal sales project. Okay. But when I'm looking at the comps, when I convert it into an Opti project, I can assign people. I can assign my copywriter. I can assign uh, my website developer to put together, some comps, right? And where do I put my time? Because they've been assigned to it, they will actually be able to enter time against the Opti project. Okay. Well, okay, that sounds okay, right? But again, does that offset my schedule? Well, in that case, where would you put the time? And so some would add an additional thing into their templates, which may be sales time or something like that. Okay. Or they just have, for example, they put it all towards kickoff, if that makes sense. So it's really up to you. But again, usually they might have like I said, a task in the actual template that copies over. So that's where I can put all that work towards. Okay. Or again, I, just put it into whatever that kind of management uh, task is for me. Okay. Now, what do I do with the time? Of course, if I can bill it, I bill it. If I can't, I either mark it as billed or I write it off and write it off for a reason. Sales effort, right? So again, there's going to be a reason for that time entry. Okay. Right. So again, that's how you can add it. Now, as far as transferring it, I kind of, there are some people that say, well, I don't want this to mess up my budgets because I put time in against it. Um, some would say, I'm going to transfer this time off into my normal sales project. And so that's fine. Uh, you know, that's that's a way of doing it. Some would say, well, but then that kind of skews your total effort to produce that website, right? You have those 10 less hours against the project. And again, that's kind of, like I said, that's kind of your choice, right? It's like, that's okay that I don't track it or not. That makes sense? Okay. All right. So here we go. I think it's a good stopping point. Next, I'll go into the setup of getting all of this. Okay. So a few questions. Can you set it up to send you a notification or email so we know when a new lead is in Workmajig? Yes, indeed. That's part of that coding that you can put that in. I just didn't do that, right? Is the production margin the markup percent? That's correct. How much do I expect? That's actually an expense side kind of. It's like it's the sales. How much money do I mark that up? So that'll give me kind of that cost and make that deduction accordingly. Okay. And again, can you track time towards an opportunity? Yes. Not towards an opportunity, but towards an Opti project. So I've already activated, enabled advanced features, which means I have either a project or a campaign or a planning project, and I can put time towards those Opti things, Opti projects. Okay. Is there a potential to use the CRM to create specific customer lists and convert to a project or something like an email campaign? Uh, okay, so yep, we often hear that. So, you have your mailing list, right? So for Christmas cards or holiday cards, I should say, right? And so that's going to be available through all of these. And oftentimes we'll set up marketing groups. Okay. So that's a good way. So I think I have some. So again, I have these marketing groups that I've created. So I say, well, what's the name of this? And I might say holiday list. Okay. You're saying, well, I have holiday list, but there's nobody in it. What do I do? Right? And I'm going, I can't do anything here. This is actually done from either the lead or the contact. So now that I have that marketing group set up, I can come in and I can say, okay, give me all the contacts. And maybe I do a filter to just say, show me all active ones. And I do a search and I get that list of names. And you can say, update the contact fields. And one of those is the marketing group. So I can now put all of these into the holiday list. Okay. And save that. And so now they're all part of that holiday list. Okay, so now when I go look at the holiday list, it gives me all this information. But really, am I going to email it or send it to them? So you can see that this list, when I, let's see, edit. Oh, it's the system settings. So in here, I can actually come and edit the columns and I can make a decision as to what columns are showing for this particular list. So if this is an email list, all I care about is probably company, contact, full name. Actually, I probably don't want contact full name. Most people I see use the company, contact first name, last name, contact last name, contact first name. Okay. And then I'm going to need an email, right? The contact email, right? And I don't need a phone number, right? Okay. Go ahead and save that. Close it up. Hope I did that. Okay. So here's the ideas, right? So now I can basically send this off in CSV, right? Export to CSV and go ahead and send that out. But the nice thing is I can also come in and I can say, hey, by the way, add a conversation to this that I sent the holiday card. So now in each one of these records, it'll say sent holiday card. And I can say, oh, and again, I may even copy out the body into the notes. That's up to me, right? And I can go ahead and save that as completed. Link everyone selected to a single conversation, create one conversation with each person. I'm probably going to link that. Link everyone selected to a single, oh, sorry, create one conversation for each person, right? So they're not going to see a BCC or anything like that, right? And so when I save that, again, it went out there and basically put that on every single record. They're going to see that, see, Summer Festival 2024, sent email and link to stuff. Okay. Uh, so that's how I would get that list out. Create as many lists as you want. Contact records can be connected to any number of lists. Okay. And if I need to remove them, you saw how I can mass remove them from the list as well. Although I can come into here and also, again, do some selecting and remove them from the list as you see. Okay. Okay. Is there anything from duplicating leads and companies that we have when converting them? Um, That kind of depends, right? I'm sorry, in the conversion process, right? Here, let me go ahead and do I'm not going to convert them all the way. It says create a company, but we also have link to an existing. So if I go looking, I may be able to find, that company name. And if I do, then I can just link it to that. Otherwise, I'm going to create a new one. Okay. If I do find a duplicate, right, and I'm starting to get them, we do have the ability to remove duplicates either in the lead and you're comparing usually first name, last name, and email address. That's kind of our core ones that we're doing. But again, when I say remove duplicates, it's going, I can go off of any of these records, decide which one's the oldest or the newest, and then go ahead and merge them together. Heads up, merging, there's no unmerge. Okay. Once you click search and you say merge them, it's done. Okay. Is there a way to import customer data? Yes, we just, a CSV file. is the way to import things in. And again, you can import the contacts and with the company name, you import the company information, then bring them in. Again, there's a number of ways. Again, for those for importing, I would recommend that you go ahead and send a note into support@workamajig.com to help you out. Okay. So with the fewest we have left, it's kind of let's go with setup. Okay, so you saw how I kind of moved things through. I had you know, I had the form that brought it in. There's really not anything to that other than again this coding bit of coding in one of your web pages that basically creates this right this section here, and again it posts it into Workamajig. Okay. From there, we start to look at what are the other things we're doing. So I said that it wasn't working to Gmail. I can send out an email from Workamajig. That person replies to it. It goes back to a prescribed email box. We process that mailbox and it comes into, basically threads out into the conversation and sends it back out to people. That's all done via admin manager system setup. And I don't want to do that. Okay, under connections, and we have this under emails. And so first is the incoming. So this is a mailbox that I'm going to use to process the mail. So when somebody hits reply, it's going back to WMJ Diary. We process it, and based upon some coding, it's going to be in there and it's going to thread through. Make sense? Okay. Now, usually what happens, again, is when it goes out, if you're on our servers, it's going to come off of workamajig.com. So, Workamajig does not match, your your domain.com, right? So that domain mismatch is usually going to be seen as, spam and immediately go there. Okay. So how do we get around that? We can provide a DKIM record that you guys can put on your side. That may get around many of the filters. But again, we also have the ability to set up an SMTP connection with your mail server. So basically, we're passing the mail from our server to your mail server. So it goes outbound from your mail server. There are some caveats if you're using 365 because that's going to use your Active Directory. Most of your clients are not part of your Active Directory, so it may get stalled because of that. Okay. But again, if you're on your own mail server, setting up the SMTP will allow all email to go out via your domain rather than our mail domain. And that usually will stop a lot of the filters or allow it through to a lot of the clients and contacts. Okay. Some of the other things, so again, that's really the main one because that's usually what we're sending out. Okay. Under contact management, this is where I showed you the opportunity stages. So again, you can set up what stages you want. You can put them in what's the display order. I can even default in a probability. And then again, how does it start? So does it default probability? Does it display on the dashboard? That type of thing. So again, is it kind of active? For the status, again, you can set up as many as you want. And then is it active? So the idea of that is it kind of more visible? That's the idea of it being active or not. And then the outcomes, we have the idea of a positive versus not so kind of a negative outcome. And so that's why I awarded as a positive outcome. There's a report that uses this particular one. Okay. But then along with that, you can see all the company types, meeting types, right? Again, that can be used as part of your CRM. Okay. The next thing we would kind of look at is, oh, okay, so sorry, under global list, and this is where you may do the project statuses, where you may want to have a sales opportunity. So while it's sitting in that with the sales team, that Opti project is sitting there in this, and it's kind of ongoing. Allow time entries, allow expense entries, because I may be developing my orders and stuff like that. And then it's up to you to say, well, is it active or not? So if it's not active, it's really not showing up on the board. It's only people who know about it. But some would say, well, no, I'm going to make it active and I can just filter sales op out. But again, so that really shows up everywhere, right? Especially in the traffic, right? Okay. And then we also have, do we include this in our revenue forecasting? Okay. The next potential setup, okay, would be custom fields. Okay. As you know, on a lead, sorry, I mean, I know, on a lead, there are no lead custom fields, but it's in the conversion. So when I convert them, that's why on a lead, I can enter in contact custom fields, custom fields, and opportunity custom fields. Okay. And remember, the custom fields are just ways for you to sort or filter or include extra information that you want to gather, whatever that is. And again, maybe that's again, the company fields is very common on that. And then obviously the opportunity fields may again give you that. And how to create these, we have a nice help guide on that. Uh, but again, for the most part, it's you're creating the fields and saying they make them available. The styles just go in here. So it could just be a text line, a text area, which just gives me extra lines, drop boxes, check boxes, right? Dates, right? A number. The only one I worry about is if you set it to numeric, just a heads up, custom fields and numeric, it's only looking for the number and the decimal place. You put a comma, it breaks it. You put a dollar sign, you break it. That makes sense? So if it has that potential, I always say put it in as a text. Okay. Does that make sense? That's just the nature of it. The date will actually be a calendar, so there's no worry about that one. But it's usually somebody puts 1,000, right? And that kind of breaks the field, that comma. Okay. You can still see it. The data is not lost. It's just we have to flip it and then look for it, change it, and then change it back or leave it as a text. Okay. There you go. All right. So that's really the system setup. Now, as far as again, maybe bringing in stuff from like HubSpot or some other thing, I know there you can, your developers can probably develop the API hooks for that, or you can use something like Zapier, which makes the connections between Workmajig and something like HubSpot to bring those across. Okay. And again, if you're interested in either of those, for the API, opening a different can of worms here. So admin manager system setup connections, and here's API. And right here, you'll see there's an internal link, right? And that's going to show you, here's how I do it. There's the intro, there's that. Here's some sample coding. You want to bring in activities. You want to bring in, I think we do leads. There's the leads, right? So there's some sample coding to go along with that. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And that's really all I had for you. So I want to show you again, I don't expect, you should really be using it. If this fits into you, it's like you're maybe paying for a separate CRM. There's something in Workmajig that's available for you that's already part of the system and works well with the system. Again, but if you're using something like Outlook and you prefer that, that's fine. Again, you may then develop a list. Here's the contacts I want in here with the companies, and you go ahead and create an Excel file, convert it to CSV, and import that in as company and contact information and move from there. Okay. Or you just manually type in the opportunity at that point in time, create it. Okay. But again, if you have any further questions or wish training, contact your account manager at support@workmajig.com. And thank you guys very much for attending. Truly appreciate it. I'll just wait a couple seconds if there's any more questions. If not, then we'll call it a day and have a great rest of the week.